Have you ever heard the story of the Christmas curse? It's a tale whispered on the coldest winter nights. A story of a princess named Aurora, born on Christmas Eve. It was the coldest Christmas Eve the kingdom had ever known. Snowflakes, like tiny crystal dancers, pirouetted through the air, blanketing the world in a shimmering white cloak. Inside the grand castle, candlelight cast a warm, golden glow on every wall, and joyful music drifted from the ballroom. This was a night of immense celebration, for a baby princess had just been born, Aurora, named for the dawn, a new light in the heart of winter. The king and queen, their hearts overflowing with joy, decided to hold a grand christening. They invited all the good fairies of the realm to bestow their magical gifts upon the newborn princess. The hall was a spectacle of festive cheer, adorned with sparkling tinsel, holly, and evergreen wreaths. One by one, the fairies stepped forward. The first fairy, with a wave of her glittering wand, gifted Aurora with a heart full of kindness. The second bestowed upon her a beauty that would rival the winter roses. A third gave her the gift of a voice as sweet and clear as silver bells on Christmas morning. The air buzzed with magic and goodwill, a symphony of blessings for the little princess. But just as the celebration reached its peak, a sudden icy wind howled through the grand hall. The cheerful candle flames flickered and danced wildly, casting long, menacing shadows. The music stuttered to a halt. All eyes turned to the towering archway, where a swirl of snow and shadow coalesced into a tall, imposing figure. It was Maleficent, the dark fairy, her cloak as black as a starless winter sky. She had been deliberately left off the guest list, and her fury was a palpable, freezing force. "You did not invite me," she hissed, her voice echoing through the silent ballroom like a coming blizzard. Her eyes, cold and hard as ice, fixed upon the cradle. She raised her gnarled staff, its tip glowing with a sickly green light. The air grew heavy with dread. "And so, I bring a gift of my own," she declared. "On her 16th Christmas Eve, the princess shall prick her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel, and fall into a sleep as cold and deep as the winter night itself." A collective gasp swept through the crowd. The queen clutched her child, her face pale with terror, but before despair could fully take hold, the youngest and kindest of the good fairies, who had yet to give her a gift, stepped forward. Her voice was a soft whisper, but it carried a powerful promise. "The princess will not die," she proclaimed, her own magic shimmering like starlight. "She will only sleep. A deep, enchanted slumber, until love's first true kiss awakens her." Though it couldn't break the curse, her counterspell offered a glimmer of hope in the encroaching darkness. The king, desperate to protect his daughter, immediately issued a decree. Every spinning wheel in the entire kingdom was to be gathered and burned. For years, the kingdom lived in fear of the curse, but as time passed and Aurora grew into a kind and beautiful young woman, the memory of that dreadful Christmas Eve began to fade. The castle was always filled with warmth and laughter, and the princess was kept safe and loved. But fate, as it often does, has a way of finding its path. The years flew by, and soon, Aurora's 16th Christmas Eve arrived. The castle was once again adorned for the holidays, but a quiet, unspoken tension hung in the air. The king and queen watched their daughter with worried eyes, praying the day would pass without incident. Feeling a strange pull, Aurora wandered away from the festivities, exploring the castle's quiet, forgotten corridors. The halls, usually bustling, were now silent and dusted with a fine layer of snow that had blown in through an open window. Her curiosity led her up a winding staircase to an old, disused tower she had never seen before. A faint, flickering light beckoned from under a heavy oak door. Pushing it open, she found a small, dusty room. There, shimmering in the dim candlelight, was a single, ancient spinning wheel, the only one that had been missed. An old woman sat before it, her face hidden in shadow, spinning thread. Aurora, who had never seen such a curious object, was mesmerized. "What is it?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. The old woman smiled, a strange, knowing smile, and invited her to try. Drawn by an irresistible urge, Aurora reached out her hand. She gently touched the spindle, and a sharp pain shot through her finger. A single drop of crimson fell upon the dusty floor. Aurora's eyes grew heavy, and a deep, dreamless slumber instantly overtook her. As she collapsed onto a nearby cot, the curse radiated outwards from the tower. A wave of magical frost swept through the castle. The fires in the hearths turned to ice. The music stopped mid-note. The guests, the servants, the king and queen, everyone fell into the same enchanted sleep. Outside, thick, thorny briars, covered in frost, grew at a magical speed, encircling the entire castle and hiding it from the world. Time itself froze. The kingdom slept, trapped under an endless blanket of white. 100 Christmases came and went. The story of the sleeping princess and her frozen kingdom became a legend, a ghost story told by firesides in faraway lands. The castle was lost to time, completely buried in snow and ice. Then, one year, on Christmas Eve, a brave young traveler found himself lost in a fierce, relentless snowstorm. He was a kind soul, a wanderer with an adventurous spirit. Seeking shelter, he stumbled upon a wall of impenetrable ice-covered thorns. Puzzled, he drew his sword and began to hack his way through. To his astonishment, the icy briars seemed to part for him, creating a path as if welcoming him in. He finally broke through into a silent, frozen courtyard. Before him stood a magnificent castle, perfectly preserved under a thick layer of frost and snow. He pushed open the heavy doors and entered a world frozen in time. He saw courtiers asleep in the halls, a cook frozen mid-stir, and a king and queen sleeping on their thrones. Following an unseen guidance, he climbed the highest tower. There, in a small, cold room, he saw her, Princess Aurora, lying peacefully, as beautiful as the day she fell asleep, her skin like porcelain beneath a delicate layer of frost. The traveler was moved by the sight of her serene, lonely slumber. He felt a deep sense of compassion for this sleeping star, trapped in an endless winter. Leaning down, he gently brushed a snowflake from her cheek and whispered, "Merry Christmas, my sleeping star." It wasn't a kiss of romantic passion, but a simple, true act of kindness, a wish of peace on a holy night. At his words, a miracle happened. Her eyelids fluttered. A warm golden light began to glow from her heart, spreading through the room and melting the ice. The frost on her skin vanished, and her eyes opened, clear and bright. All at once, the castle came alive. The ice in the hearths melted back into roaring fires. The enchanting melody of bells began to ring throughout the kingdom. Music and laughter filled the air once more. The entire kingdom awoke, not to the memory of a curse, but to the warmth and joy of Christmas morning. That year, the celebration was the grandest the kingdom had ever seen. They celebrated not just the return of their princess and the breaking of the curse, but the miracle they had all witnessed. That even the longest, coldest winter must eventually end, and that, sometimes, the most powerful magic of all is a single true act of kindness. Thank you so much for joining me for this Christmas tale. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like this video and follow our channel for more stories. We wish you a wonderful and magical holiday season.